Hello, welcome to Irons United for a gift of the Gab midweek. We're going to talk about West Ham United and the circus that it is, Pellegrini on a tightrope, and all things about our lovely club. I'm joined tonight by the Anton man from up there in Scotland. Hello, Anton.
How you doing, Alf? You all well?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Still reeling after the performance the other night and the result. Yeah. What did you think?
Just absolutely baffled. I've done a review with my dad after the game. I'm really kind of lost for words, to be honest. The lack of fight, passion, grit, determination, tactical decisions, player substitutions, everything is just concerning me. I'm worried that I get carried away as a fan.
Yeah.
I can't really help it. I mean, in the last 11 games in all competitions, we've been beaten 8 times. We've won once and drew twice. Knocked out of the cup by League One opposition. Got 2 points in the Premier League.
Yeah,
and it's relegation form, and it is relegation form. We're coming close to Christmas. It's not good.
Yeah, I think there are quite a few things that are troubling me at the moment, and it's not necessarily about individual players, and it's not necessarily about Pellegrini. It's more about the overall atmosphere around the club and in the fan base as well. We seem to have, I don't know, sort of dropped into this whole negativity thing again, and we're all fueling each other, and we're all sort of pointing the finger and blaming people, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know about you or anybody else who's listening out there, but what are the answers? I don't know what the answers are right now, because I don't think the players have got any answers. I don't think the manager's got any answers, and obviously lots of people blaming the board again for a lack of investment and all that kind of stuff, and why did we move, and all that sort of stuff bubbles up to the surface again. Obviously, when we're not doing well, and but what's the solution? That's where I'm having trouble.
I think there's a mixture of emotions are playing big on every single West Ham fan, and they always have. If you're from a certain era or understand the history of the club, you realise, as you do, Alf, and I know you're a little bit older. Not that I'm offending you, but I'm 36, but I was born and bred to a West Ham family, so I know the history of the club, and I know there's always been a lot of bad times. And yes, I get it. I don't know where I'm at with this. I don't know where I'm at with this kind of the blame culture, and I've made a conscious decision to come off of a particular social site that I find toxic, and it can sway opinions and can sway decisions. And by coming off that completely, you feel like you're missing out on this uprising of the negativity of a fan. Now, my negativity is a raw negativity. It's not a negativity that someone else is telling me to be negative about. I don't know how you can be positive in this current situation, though.
No.
But I don't know where the blame lies. I mean, there is a valid point in saying that the board reacted and got as a winning manager.
Yeah.
He's proven himself in the Premier League. They've paid him a lot of money. There is elements of, you could say, that they have backed him recently in the last few years, because they physically have. So the lie, for me, I look at the team selections that have been made and the tactical decisions have been made. And I, of course, am not a manager or a coach. No, and that's the reason we're sitting here doing what we do. But I do think to myself, and I listen to a lot of the pundits that say there's some decisions there that are completely crazy, and have been since, I don't know, like I actually think, when I look back at the Oxford game and I think of the changes in that side, and how serious, like, we had momentum going into that game, and we lost all momentum from that game onwards. And I'm not just blaming the Oxford game, but then the next game and tactical decisions and making substitutions later. It's like West Ham again. It's like under Bilic, he made substitutions too late. Even under Moyes, he made substitutions too late. Under all our managers, they just seem to make these decisions a little bit too late. Now, you think of the Arsenal game, Alf, you think we were playing well and doing well, in particular the first half, and the game was there for the taking. Every West Ham fan and every pundit will see the same. But
I won't.
At that point,
I wouldn't.
At that point, you would turn around and go, let's maximise this opportunity. That defence at Arsenal were playing the ball from the back and they looked shaky every single time that keeper passed it out to their defenders. The defenders looked shaky. They were kicking it out for throw-ins. We didn't maximise it, and that's when we needed to see Sebastian Haller brought on alongside Antonio with Anderson through the middle. But we didn't get that. And we only got Sebastian Haller on and Nathan Holland on once we conceded 3 goals with 10 minutes to go.
I think what I saw of that game, and I was just stood in the one corner end where I normally am, and all I could see were 2 teams that were kind of cancelling out each other in the first half until we scored. That was, you have the worst Arsenal team that I've ever known that couldn't defend to save their lives, and they were just terrible at the back. And you had the worst West Ham attack that I can think of on record for many years, where we just not created in the final third. So we were kind of haphazard. They were all over the place, and it was just one of those things. You thought, crikey, something's got to give. We got the goal, and it was coming, but at the same time, it wasn't as if it was by method. It was more about, oh look, okay, we got a goal, and I was just jumping around for joy as everybody else was in the stadium. But at the same time, I was sort of scratching my head. I thought, where the hell did that come from? Because we were kind of in the area. We were kind of pressing a little bit. But we're all around me. We're all sort of analysing the players, especially Anderson. And he had a couple of touches. He was making a couple of passes, but he just wasn't in the game again. He just wasn't. And Fredericks terribly was out of the game. He was just making so many mistakes. And I just thought, well, when we scored, I was exactly the same. We've got to push on, but I just couldn't see us pushing on and getting another goal. We just looked so rubbish again going forward. I agree. We should have, gone for the jugular. Pellegrini should have gone for the jugular and put somebody else on. It doesn't have to be Haller, but somebody else on to support Antonio. And Anderson was out left again. He was all drifted out left again, and it's just all wrong. The whole shape is all wrong. And I just wonder. The rumours are that the team are still with Pellegrini, but I can't see it. I cannot see how they are still with him. I cannot see how any of those players believe anything they say. Because a couple of games ago, when I was when was it? Was it the Spurs game? I think something like that. You got Snodgrass and Yarmolenko just having a chinwag in the centre circle because they don't understand or they don't believe the instruction that they've just been given by Pellegrini. Yep. You've got more and more players now just sort of showing dissent towards the management. Anderson, obviously, famously on the touchline. So you've got these players that are just not really, with the manager. They're not showing it, or they don't believe what he's telling them, or they just don't really have a clue. They haven't bought into it, or they haven't fully understood his message. And I think that's the problem. I don't think they fully understood the message. And I don't think they have confidence in their own beliefs or in their own ability to be able to execute that plan, whatever that plan is, because nobody seems to know.
They don't. Yeah, there is that. I think there's the element of what is it to play for this club. Like, I worry that when you sign for our club, this is not that I'm trying to blame the board, right? But there is an element of blame for what I'm about to say. That you need to be able to feel that, when players walk into, say, Goodison Park, like when you walked into Upton Park, you felt that family club feeling. I'm not trying to bring this up, right? I'm just trying to make it relative to my point I'm trying to make. But you walk into Goodison Park and you hear players saying, oh, you feel that family, that old school stadium. You're told the history. You're told what the club means. You meet people that work there who've worked for the club for years, who know the club inside out. A lot of clubs have that. A lot of clubs don't have that anymore, but they have billionaire investors.
Yeah.
But West Ham have moved to the Olympic Stadium, and I know myself that it's not so friendly with regards to their staff. We all know that. It's not people that have born and bred, who lived and breathed this club. Yeah. And do the players get that sense of this is a stepping stone for us?
Yeah.
Therefore, you don't have the fight and determination, because if they don't do successful at West Ham, their fees up, their wages are up, and they move on. Like, I'm a Felipe Anderson fan. I've played in position, and played to his advantages. But worst case scenario, he'll go back to Italy and earn equal, if not more, than what he earned in the Premier League. So his stepping stone it's a no-brainer, and I just don't know. Do these players get that homely, historic feeling of walking into that club? Because I know myself, right? I've taken my dad, like I said to you all before in the show, born and bred, and grew up watching West Ham and season ticket successful times. And the minute he's been to the Olympic Stadium twice, and he's not enjoyed it twice.
Yeah,
he supports his club, and he'll never stop supporting his club. But it has changed, and if he's feeling that as a hardcore West Ham fan. How do you feel that as a non-hardcore West Ham fan, being brought into that club as a player, paid the money? And I think that's the problem that's shown in the park. That's why I've changed my opinion dramatically on Snodgrass, because he literally, even like the other night, he was the only one putting in what they called derby tackles.
Yeah. Like, I'm a massive fan of Snodgrass.
Yeah.
Purely, and we've had these discussions privately, but purely for his effort and his commitment and the desire. He's for me, ignore quality. Let's just talk about commitment and attitude. He is my number one player at West Ham right now because of the way he acts. I'll always cheer Snodgrass, and every time I get him up to the corner flag, we were all cheering his name, we're all clapping him. He was clapping us, in the first half. And because we could all see what he brings to the team, or the commitment he gives. Nobody else is giving it like he is. And I'll tell you what, nobody else is as pissed off as he is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because he is really showing it now. And, other players should be as well.
There's a mixture of the players that are, faulting from not performing what we've said. Also, with the fan base that are, there's this kind of like scaremongering propaganda. We've all fallen into this trap of social media. We've all fallen into this trap of following specific accounts that, so whatever they want, break news on West Ham. We're not denying that we have been told news before, and we have broke news before. And initially, when we used to do it, there was an element of, I'm quite excited about being the first person to know, and hope that it was right, and it was, but it's like we believe the messiahs that are out there, that in the nose, and that has a negative. Actually, the more it's happening, and each year it's happening, is it's a constant negative effect. Like, do you actually believe what comes out of these guys' mouths? And is it actually happening at the club? Like, there's so much. Like, do I believe Pellegrini's got one more game after Southampton? I've been told so many times.
That's the rumour, isn't it? That's the rumour.
That's the rumour that's kicking about, and rumours will always exist. But if West Ham get beat against Southampton, are you telling me, with the board we've currently got, they're going to pay 14+ million to get rid of Pellegrini after Southampton, when they've got 2 more games before Christmas to play, or whatever, before the January transfer window kicks in?
Well, I said this right at the start of the season. If we get relegated, it's going to cost them a lot more than that. If we finish 17th, it's going to cost them a lot more than a potential 7th or 8th that we were going to finish off. So it will cancel out that payment. If we get somebody in, now this will lead on to the next question: who would we get in? Because that's the biggest thing. Because all the names I've heard, all the names that people say we should get him. I'm wondering, really, are you sure you really want him? Because they're not convincing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think one of the names that was mentioned, wasn't it? Even today with me, you and Stell were having a chat.
Yeah.
And I think he was talking about Kovac.
Yeah.
And I think you said, like, I'm not massively convinced, and
Yeah.
I'm not massively convinced. I know he's got history at Frankfurt. I know he's managed under Sebastian Haller. You know, he's a former footballer, all that sort of stuff. But I'm not massively convinced on a foreign, within respect, another foreign manager who's not proven in the Premier League. I mean, I don't know. I'd love to look at the stats of foreign managers not known to the Premier League brought in who have lasted.
Yeah.
Because it mustn't read well.
For me, there's only one manager now who's literally just got the sack, and that's Ancelotti. For me, he's proven, he's won, and he's also managed in this country in the Premier League, and he's won in this league, and he's a top class manager. And not only that, he can communicate effectively. All the players would know who he is, and he would go in there bringing in a bit of defensive attitude towards our game and make us a better team. And let's not forget that we need a big bounce. Whoever comes in needs to give us a big bounce. Just like, when Everton's just sacked Silva, and they haven't appointed a manager yet, and obviously now they're sniffing around Ancelotti.
Well, why would you not?
Well, exactly right. So this is my point, and this is what we're getting to the board really now about, delaying the inevitable, really. But, in the meantime, who have they got? They actually got one of their old boys, Duncan Ferguson, to come in and rile everybody up and to say, come on, play for the shirt and everything, play with passion. So all of a sudden, it's just like a switch. It's a different voice. It's a different type of voice for those players. Marco Silva, obviously, that message wasn't getting through, just like Pellegrini's message isn't been getting through. We need another voice now in the dressing room, some old boy, as it were, old player, or somebody from the club to actually, as an interim, just come in and G everybody up. The problem is we don't have anybody like that. We don't have anybody at hand. We have, the two names that have been mentioned today they said they will be taken over, if Pellegrini goes after Southampton. They are not those kind of people. They do not command the same respect as Duncan Ferguson commands at Everton. We are screwed in that regard. So we need a massive manager who's Premier League proven, who can come in and hit the ground running. And we need to do it now. That's the problem.
To add to that, though, Alf, I also think that the problem is we don't have squad depth. And I think some of the signings we made, I think everyone's very quick to jump on the bandwagon about saying this signing's crap, this signing's crap, this signing's crap. But let's just talk, like we'll come on to that, I suppose, at one point during the show. But we don't have squad depth. So you bring out Sebastian Haller, we signed a Jetty who doesn't play, and we bring a makeshift striker in place. You look at our bench most weeks, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not top level. I mean, sitting on Everton's bench for 3 or 4 weeks was Sigurdsson. He's a proven Premier League quality player.
Sure.
And now Duncan Ferguson's come back in, given him a bit of lease of life. Sure. And driven the fans up. So I look at our bench and I think, what player are they going to do that with? They also have some decent youth talent that they've been weaning into the squad over the last 2 or 3 years, where West Ham have been kind of sporadically doing it. So bringing them in for a couple of games, not doing great, not using them right, sending them out on loan. And, I keep hearing people saying, like, Bilic is working wonders with Diangana. Yeah, he is working wonders with Diangana. But I wonder what a manager who would give Diangana a run of games, a consistent run of games, would do at West Ham, the club he's actually parenting, like his parent club. So I don't know what it is. We don't have strength and depth. What managers are out there that can come in and make a difference? I don't even know if there is a manager that can come out and make a difference with the current squad, because I think they need to invest. But we all know the biggest problem is they won't invest unless they sell. So that's my biggest concern is, like, what's the pull for Ancelotti to come to West Ham? The pull for Ancelotti to come to West Ham is, there's your squad, sell who you want to get the money you want. And that's what he'll have to do. Yeah. And but is he what manager's tactically minded to come in and use the current squad to give West Ham? I don't know, and I'm scared to say it, mate. I'm scared to say it's Moyes. People are talking about Moyes again. And I'm just like,
look.
oh.
As far as I'm concerned, there are two things that we need to do right now. First of all, we need to save the season. Second of all, we need to plan for the future. We need a manager, unfortunately, who can do both. It's not going to be good enough to get somebody in who's only going to last for another 6 months until we decide to change it up again in the summer. We actually want to get somebody in place right now who's going to maybe see out 2 or 3 years. And I personally think somebody like an Ancelotti is going to be the right man. But even if you went for someone like Howe or Dyche or something like that, I don't think they are the right managers to actually turn our season around and actually convince the players that we've got to pull the socks up and roll the sleeves up and go for it. I just don't think they are. I think they are building managers and doing the best with what they've got, but they've been on a really poor run of form with their own clubs. You put those managers into our circus that we have again, and it's just crazy. They're just not going to succeed. Those players, every single one of those players in our squad, are just not performing to the level that we expected, that Pellegrini expected, and possibly everybody else expected as well. But we do have quality there. It's just that they're just not they're not playing at the level that they should. So it needs a different voice to go in there and sort it out and rethink the whole strategy, rethink the whole game, the whole tactics of the game. Because we're losing games right now with the tactics. We're losing games. We're not convincing, and we're not scoring enough, and we're shipping goals like. And
we're losing games easily. Easily. It's easily losing games. Like, my worry is it's not like we're fighting. We are losing games, and each week it's another game lost, and it's another game lost, and it's another game lost, and I'm like, oh my word! Like, when is this fight determination going to kick in? Because the heads are gone, the heads are down, and it really concerns me.
Yeah. Look, Hammerwell here, Hammerwell08, and thanks for the messages, and Welsh Hammer as well. Thanks for those. Sorry, I'm a bit slow in putting them up here. But he said that's all well and good, but will the fans give any manager enough time? See, here you make a really good point, because I think this is part of the problem that we have now with our modern game, but not necessarily only with our fan base, with all fan bases, is that we're impatient. There's too much pressure on the management. There's too much at stake now, for any kind of dip in form. And we've not only had 1 or 2 players out of form, we've had a lot of players out of form. Yeah. And I've said right from the very first game with Pellegrini, I'm not jumping any bandwagon. You can go back on all my shows, all my videos, because I said it right from the very word go. There is something wrong with his tactics, and there's something wrong with his appraisal of each game and how the games are going. He's too slow to react. Yeah, the players are playing too slowly. They're too slow to pick themselves up and react to in-game situations as well. So, we as a fan base, we're just expecting too much because we're being fed dross as well. We're all frustrated by it. Something needs to change, and I think and this comes back to the owners now. Okay, at some point, you as an owner, an owner of a company, you've got to see who's beneath you and say, are they doing their job? What is the potential damage of letting them stay in that position? Now, the potential damage of Pellegrini staying in that position and his whole backroom staff right now is that we are going to lose a lot of money, but also we're going to get relegated. And that's the real damage. They, as custodians of this club, cannot let that happen, because if they do, then they are negligent. They are more to blame than Pellegrini and out of form players.
I fear, I don't want to think about it, but I fear that, maybe it's a crazy statement I'm about to say, but I fear that they don't see relegation as the worst thing ever, because I actually think that they think like that. I'm not saying these guys are stupid, right? Because they're not. They're businessmen who are making a fortune. Yeah. But when it comes to something you love and care for, I think they're stupid in the terms that they think if they were to get relegated, that it would be an easy ride. If West Ham were to get relegated this season, Alf, this would be the worst relegation we would suffer ever, because the fans would not. That would not be acceptable. It would be the most toxic atmosphere you would ever experience. There would be physical fights. It would be awful. If we think that Burnley game was bad, it would be awful. It really would be, and they can't afford it for the fans.
Yeah, well, I was at that Burnley game, and I remember it up close and personal to the lads who were running on and coming off, and I was witness to how fans were turning on fans and neighbours right next to only a few seats away, literally, and then actually where I'm stood now in that same sort of area, fans were turning on fans as well. It just wasn't a good situation, and I totally agree. I said after the Arsenal game, I did my sort of post-match reaction video thing, and I showed the empty stadium, and I said to everybody, "This is what it will be like next season. This is what." So if I don't believe, I agree with you. I don't believe that our owners at Gold and Sullivan actually are that concerned about us going down, getting relegated, because they're not paying that much for the stadium. The overheads are low. Actually, all they're going to be losing is revenue.
Yep.
They've got the parachute payment. They think, well, actually, we can keep that money, reinvest, get like a Sam Allardyce type of no-nonsense manager, pay him a bit of extra money, get us back up within a year. Everything will be easy. That's the problem. The problem is that as a club, as an overall holistic view of our club, if we go down, not only will it be temporarily bad for our club in terms of finances, but it will just rip anything that we've got left out of us. And I don't think that we would recover as a fan base, not for a long time.
Or a club, and I can see the comment that you've just put up there from Hammerwell. It says, we need a manager who'll come in and totally rebuild the club. If that means, I think the one you were just took off.
Sorry,
if that means relegation, and so be it. Take Wolves, they went down 2 leagues and rebuilt. Now look at them, same with Ferguson. The thing is, my concern is that if we did go down, we probably would go down again, because it would be in disarray and we wouldn't know how to manage that. I'm not trying. I actually think we won't go down. I know, slightly contradicting maybe what we're talking about, and maybe I'm just a half glass too full sort of guy. I genuinely don't think we will go down. I don't know why I think that. I think there's enough in the tank. I think we just need a run of games. We'll get a couple of points. We'll do just enough. But then maybe I am just completely blinded by. I'm trying my best to remain on the fence. I suppose I'm trying to be on the fence because I got carried. I never got carried away. I rightly got carried away the last time, but I wasn't going to march. I was pissed off because my club. I was just getting pissed off. I've had enough. We've moved, and I wanted this, and I wanted that, and I thought, do you know what? It comes down to this: we were given a manager. The Premier League, you don't get time in the Premier League, but West Ham want dramatic changes.
Yeah,
and maybe the fan base need to realise that these dramatic changes do not happen overnight, and they will not happen overnight. So whatever manager comes in. Will we be fighting for the Champions League in the next 5 years?
No.
Under current remit, no. But with a right manager, possibly with the right manager. But you have to invest that manager. You have to invest in the time in that manager. Yeah. Was Pellegrini a quick fix for the club? He wasn't my first choice, but I accepted him. I was happy. I was excited.
Yeah.
But there was other managers at the time I probably would have been more excited about. And I just started. But my biggest concern is the board. There's 40 million. Go and get Anderson. Now fan base, shut up. There's 8 million a year, Pellegrini. Now fan base, shut up. There's 40 million for Haller. Now fan base, shut up. Do you know what? See if you actually put your money where your mouth is and went and got the players we were first linked to and not knocked back. So I wonder. I'm not saying Maxi Gomez is a fantastic player. I don't know what he's even doing at the club he's gone to. But the thing is, that's the player he wanted. Go and get the guy.
Yeah.
Invest that money in the first place. You're saying it now. It's like we miss out on all these signings, these managers, because the board don't react quick enough.
Sure.
Like if they really want to go and get Ancelotti, go and get Ancelotti. If there's a real opportunity, if Ancelotti's even remotely interested in coming to our club, I keep seeing people are saying that who would be interested in coming to the club. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think they would see it as a Premier League club, and they would see it as something that needs a challenge. And it really depends if that manager is desperate enough to get back into work, but also wants the high profile of the Premier League, and also wants a dramatic challenge. I think any manager would see that there is potential there, but there's that we are just so lacking confidence and our tactics aren't right. If I was a new manager, I would say, right, I am Mr. Ancelotti now, or Hal, whatever, and say, right, Alf, go in there, you're the manager. First thing I would do, change our shape completely. And also just look at the players that we've got and say each individual one, right, where is your preferred position?
Yeah.
Ignore what I want. Well, I want you to tell me what you think is your preferred position. Okay, I agree with you. Right, I disagree. I disagree with you because you're not performing in that position. You're better on there with your left foot, with your right foot.
Yeah.
And that's the open discussion that they need. Those players, and some of them need to be told to shut up and get on with it. Others need to be told, actually, you're right. We need to move this around a little bit. Anderson, for me, is a Lanzini. He's basically centre of the park. He's the only one who's going to help dictate. We are lacking strikers. It's as simple as that. Yet he hasn't really shown it yet. But has he really been given the opportunity?
No, he hasn't.
But he hasn't really shown. Haller has just not got the work rate for me.
If Haller was Andy Carroll, you'd be getting slated, mate. You'd be getting slated left, right, and centre.
People have been very charitable towards Haller so far, and I'm not so charitable because I say, actually, we're struggling as a team, and you are still not, running around, closing down, putting pressure on defences. But he's a big lad. He should be bullying the defences a lot more. He isn't doing it. Antonio, who I've slated so much in the past, he's. We're putting all our hope on Antonio to come and save the day. I know. It's crazy.
It is crazy. I do come back then to manager tactics. You said there, what would you do if you came into the club? You change the shape dramatically. In actual fact, one of the first things I would do, I'd be starting from the back, and working my way forward. Yeah. Now, one of the things I'd be looking at is in current football, everyone looks at statistics. Yeah. Now, I'm just going to read you some statistics from the last maybe 3 or 4 seasons, because I think at the first review or video we did this season, we spoke about we were thinking that Pellegrini was going to try and outscore the opposition because that's what we're going to have to do because we leak goals. But in 16 games, we've conceded 28 goals this season. Last season, we conceded a total of 55 goals. The season before, we conceded, let me just have a look here, 68 goals.
Yeah.
The season before that, which was the last season at Upton Park, we conceded 64 goals. No, that wasn't last season at Upton Park, sorry.
That was the first season at London Stadium.
64. Then the last season at Upton Park, we conceded 51.
Yeah.
So we are leaking goals left, right, and centre. Yeah. Fabianski makes a massive difference. There's no ifs and buts about it. His statistics are absolutely through the roof. This is where my concern lies. We've got a defence that currently mixes up between Creswell, Masuaku, Ogbonna, Diop, Balbuena, Fredericks, and Zabaleta. Are we bringing someone else? So there he is.
Yeah, I just brought Stel. All right, Stel, how are you?
Good evening, chaps. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Evening, Stel. Sorry. Go on, Ant. Carry on.
Stel, you've just come in at the right time.
Okay.
We're talking.
What are you talking about? Masuaku.
Defense.
No, building from the back.
Oh, you're talking about Hammer of the Year, Ogbonna.
Oh, don't you two start on that.
Stel, this is a serious show.
That's why I'm saying Hammer of the Year, Ogbonna. You can't deny it. But anyway, mate.
Listen, hold on. I've got to interrupt you. I love this from Welsh Hammer. I've got 5 years until I retire. Should I clean my boots? Do you know what? I think we're all feeling that. Do you know what? Let's get our boots back on. We'll show these boys how it's done.
I'm actually just watching Gillette Soccer Saturday and Ian Dowie's popped up. Do you know what? I take Ian Dowie on the part right now.
Yeah.
Even that own goal he scored against Luton.
Blimey. I think you're absolutely right. Look, we've got to build from the back. There's no doubt.
My concern here is I'm not going to individualise any player. I'm just saying, and I've said it to you, Stel, before. Said it to Alfie before as well. You've got all these players. Last year you brought in Diop and Balbuena, but there's still inconsistency in team selections. It's consistent inconsistency. Ogbonna may be our best player of a bad bunch right now, and we're still conceding shitloads of goals.
Yeah,
but he is probably going to get dropped again. We all know that at some point this season he'll get dropped. Just like Diop got dropped, just like Balbuena gets dropped, just like he dropped Fredericks to bring Zabaleta in, just like he will drop Cresswell to bring Masuaku in. And that is not healthy. It doesn't matter. And the problem even with our fan base is that if a player has one bad game, we think it's acceptable that player gets dropped the next game. That's not how football works.
No.
Like, you have to have a run of games to be given a chance. If Tottenham, it pains me to say it, didn't keep playing Harry Kane, they would have dropped him and sent him out on loan again and never given him the chance. Because at the start of his career, he never hit the ground running.
At the same token, a lot of our fans as well would see any player has 10, 15 minutes of good play in any game, and they'll say, yeah, he's definitely got to start the next game. He's definitely got to, and then, and they've said it so many times about Masuaku as well. And this is a nice link for you, Stel. Players come on, Masuaku comes on. Oh, yeah, he's fantastic. He does a little step over. He put one cross in, and then all of a sudden, start him. He's much better than Cresswell. He's fantastic. And guess what? He comes in the next game, and he's a liability again.
And that's partly the problem of not playing regularly, but that's also partly the problem that we don't have a strong squad. We've got possibly 11 decent players, maybe another 2 or 3 more on top of that. But then when you start looking at the depth of the squad, I talked about it in when I did the show the other day about how imbalanced we are. But what I didn't mention was how lack of depth we have. We're definitely an imbalanced squad. But then I remember Pellegrini saying at the beginning of the season that he was happy to have 2 players in every position. Well, you can have 2 players in every position, but if one of those players is no good, it's not depth, and he shouldn't be happy. And I think Masuaku proved it on Monday night. We were in control of that game. He comes on. They score 2 goals from that side because he's not closing the player down quickly enough. But it's happening throughout the whole team, isn't it? And I get what you're saying, Ant. Pellegrini's trying to look for the right combination, but he's not giving people enough time to find that combination. That's the problem. No. And so you do get a player come in, you do get a player playing 2 games, then getting dropped. And I know I'm on an argument, but let's be honest. At the beginning of the season, he was doing okay, and for absolutely no reason whatsoever, he got dropped because I think Pellegrini wanted the Diop Balbuena combination, and it was absolutely the wrong thing to do. And the irony was that he got dropped at the time that we lost Fabianski, and it was just like, what? Why even do that? So I think Ant's right. I think,
but he's had that. He's had that his whole career at West Ham.
You need to show who, mate.
Pellegrini has had that since he has been a West Ham manager. He's consistently
doing that. Yeah.
Let me ask you both.
And it's different when you have. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, let me ask you both a question. Do you think this is? Well, I'll ask you 2 questions based around the same subject. Do you think Pellegrini knows his best 11 yet, even after a year and a half in the game, or as our manager? And also, do you think this is the squad that he wants? Do you think that he still wanted the players that we've sold, and do you think he wanted other players he just didn't get?
He alluded to near the beginning, I think the beginning of the bad run, that he made some comment. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it seemed to allude to the fact that he didn't have the squad he wanted. Yeah. He seemed to imply that he didn't have enough strength in depth. Does he know his best 11? I actually don't think he does, to be honest with you. I think he thinks who the best 11, should be based on
paper.
And I mentioned this as well the other day, based on the fact that they cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I think he feels obliged to play certain players. We all concede Diop has had a pretty substandard season, but he's played him almost consistently, apart from when he got the ban, and then he hasn't played him since. But his hand was forced rather than him dropping Diop because Diop wasn't playing well. And I think he feels almost obliged to. He's paid 30 odd million for Anderson. He's played 20 odd million for Diop, and I think he feels obliged to play these players.
Let me just bring in this message, this chat from Ham Utd 08. It says, "Is it only me that thinks our problem is deeper than the manager? Isn't this the same as Bilic's second season with us?" Well, first of all,
I think we all know it is deeper than the manager.
Yeah,
Always.
yeah,
I'm not blaming the board all the time, but there's always the problem of the boards. Like, we will always have this problem with our board. So, we know that's there. We have to live with that, which is unfortunate. Yeah. But I said earlier on that we've been given Pellegrini. There's no ifs and buts about it. We've been given a good manager on paper who's been paid a lot of money. We've been given money to invest in players. And tactically, he's not doing the job, in my opinion, and in a lot of pundits' opinion, that he should be doing. And, you start to hear the rumours that Sullivan speaks out and says, well, I gave the fans what they wanted, and look what he's got.
Yeah.
You can kind of understand why he would say that, because it's a little bit like you're working in a business and all your staff are pissed off. So your management goes, well, what do you want to do? Okay, we'll do it. And then it doesn't work out, and they turn around and go, well, see, the reason I'm a manager. It's a bit like that.
Yeah.
Is it? Look, do you think that Pellegrini? Everybody says what a nice guy he is. He's really calm and everything. Do you think that he has not really got that ability to discipline the players and to command respect, from the players? Because I'm not sure if we should talk about the Haller rumor, but I'm not convinced that he can keep these players in check. I think he's just relying on being the nice guy, giving them a tactical plan, and then not even bollocking them afterwards.
Well, then we're back to the Bilic scenario. That's why Bilic ended up going.
Yeah.
Because apparently that's what happened with Bilic. Bilic was too nice. He was too pally with everyone, and he wasn't trying. He didn't want to slag them off or give them a bollocking, should I say, when they needed to have one. And if that's the case, then we're back to an expensive version of Bilic. But it is interesting, what happened with Bilic seems to be happening with Pellegrini, where the board they made sort of decent investment in the last season of the bowling. They had a decent team, and then we moved to the new stadium when it was time to buy some decent players, and all they needed to do was buy maybe 2 or 3 decent players.
You're right.
We packed the squad out. Sorry, mate.
100%. I totally agree with you. That was the opportunity then.
Yeah,
4 players that if that.
And all we did. Yeah, and all we did was we packed the squad out with average players.
Yeah.
And, the board did seem to have done the same again. They seem to have gone out and, in Pellegrini's first season, given him 100 million to spend. He went and he spent well. And then when it was time to press on, we've had a real happy list of players that we bought. We bought players that aren't Premier League ready. We bought, we bought players that, we bought too many number 10s when we already had them, and it seems, and I don't know who's to blame for that. You could lay the blame on the board because they haven't given Pellegrini enough money this time round, or you could lay the blame on Huselos for having bought bad. I really don't know, but it seems, for one reason or another, it's the same scenario as what we had with Bilic.
Look, remember. Sorry, go on.
In actual fact, I mean, you make a point. There's a lot of people sitting there blaming Huselos, etc. But you've just got, I think we spoke about it some show, you've just got to look at the statistics since under the Gold and Sullivan era, the amount of strikers we've gone through that have been flops. Now, Huselos has only been at the club for a season. He wasn't there for the whole term through the Golden Sullivan era. But there's, is there a problem in manager selection? Still, I made a point earlier on, and I was saying this to Alf, that when you walked into Upton Park, right? This is not about the Upton Park Olympic Stadium. Well, it kind of is. You walked into Upton Park and you felt the history. You were told the history. The people that worked at the club loved the club with passion. They knew everything about it, and they made the players understand the passion. Now, as a fan, I've taken my dad to the stadium twice. I go to the stadium, and I'm coming to terms with the stadium. But when I take a long life West Ham fan there, and he can't get it after 2 games, how's a player going to get it after being there, being paid the money? So are they getting given that experience from day dot, or are they using it as a stepping stone to get elsewhere? Because Anderson, I like Anderson, but he'll come to West Ham, get his salary that he gets. If it doesn't work out, he'll either move back to Italy and get equal, if not more, than the salary. So it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I'm going to put this comment up here, actually, because this is quite interesting. It says, from Bonnie Hammer, it says, Diop, Anderson, Haller, Yarmolenko, Fornals show that the board have spent the money. Yeah, they have spent the money. That's true. But they've also sold a lot as well. And regardless of what we've spent, regardless of what they've spent or what they've sold, the fact is that these players are just not playing well, and they've never really played to the level at which we've expected.
I think we can agree that I think he's right. I think the board have spent money. I think what we're kind of saying there, Bonnie Hammer, is perhaps they should have made a proper investment this time round, and we may not have been looking for bargain, almost like players who, almost as if we had to buy a player rather than not at all, because get rid of a lot of players. There were massive gaps in the squad. And I just wonder if Huselos and Pellegrini were given enough money of the money that we made to go out and invest properly. And I think that's the concern. But having said that, we've lost. I think every fan will know that we needed certain positions to be strengthened. One could argue we should have strengthened in the centre of defence, and we haven't. We're hoping that Reed is going to come back to be the type of player that he once was. We all know that we needed a box-to-box midfielder. We've not bought one, and instead we've gone out and bought Fornals, who I like, but how long is it going to take him to get used to the Premier League? And we needed a proven striker, and we've gone out and bought a Yeti. So it's kind of like I think Bonnie Hammer's right. It's kind of like the board have spent money, but it would have been nice for the board to spend. I'm not suggesting another 100 million, but the net spend was 25 mil. And you don't get a Premier League team, or you don't bolster a Premier League team with a net spend of only 25 mil. And I think that's the concern. But I'll be honest, as much as I don't like the board, I'll be honest, it's a really hard one to determine who's to blame. If you want to cast blame on anyone, it's quite difficult to work out who's at fault here.
But on that, I think the point I'm trying to make is there's always the blame for the board, so it's not like that's a new feeling. I think for me personally, there's always a blame in the board, because I take your point still. When we moved from Upton Park, that's when we had our opportunity. We had a good season. We only needed 3 or 4 quality players to add to that current squad, but we didn't. We went and bought this 10 half-hearted, half-interested to try and cope with the Europa League. Look how that worked out. And then we went on that cycle of trying to get rid in this conveyor belt of, this swinging door effect, in and out players. And so there's no ifs or buts about it. For me, the board are to blame all the time for a lot of things that have gone on, but the current circumstances is, for me, down to Pellegrini, because I'm just a bit like, I sit here sometimes and I think, am I playing FIFA? Am I seeing things that no one else sees? But every West Ham fan turns around and every pundit turns around and goes, why the hell did you play Zabaleta against Newcastle and Sheffield United? Yeah. Why the hell are you starting Sebastian Haller up top alone with no service? Everyone's saying it. Like,
Yeah,
it's
our forward play and actually getting service into any striker is not just from this season, though. We said the same thing about Hernandez. We've been saying it for years, about that kind of aspect to our play. Let's not forget that when we had Arnautovic, he was struggling under David Moyes. David Moyes said to him, right, let's you be the focal point. Let's you be the one who's going to create chances up front. We were still crap in getting the ball forward, but he was actually making opportunities by himself. That's why he started scoring goals. Now, I'm not saying that we should have Arnautovic back, but what I'm saying is we need somebody in the meantime who's going to create chances by themselves, because we're still not getting a service there.
Yeah, and that's why I think, if we do any transfer business this January, if we do any, there's two positions that we have to sort out. We need another striker, a proper striker, to play alongside Allaire or to support Allaire. Antonio's great, but I think he's not an out and out striker. We need a proper striker that Allaire can play alongside, and we need a box to box midfield. We need, I think, where we really fall down. We talked about our defence and everything, but the idea is that it's the team that defends, from front to back, and we don't have that. We don't have that player that can sit next to alongside Rice to really help that defence out. Now, I know a lot of people are going to go, well, we've got Noble. Well, yeah, we've got Noble, but as you saw, what happened on Monday night, we were bossing that game against Arsenal. They went and equalised. We collapsed, and Noble, his whole game, where he played great for 60 minutes, all of a sudden, he looked shaky. He looked nervous. He couldn't pass the ball more than 5 yards. He felt pressure. The whole team felt outnumbered. And if we had a real powerhouse in the middle of that pitch alongside Rice, you'd see a different West Ham. You need someone that's really going to be able to get that ball, start linking up defence with midfield with attack, and we don't have that. The first hour, Noble played brilliantly. He was pinging the ball everywhere. He had loads of confidence, etc. But how many times have we said, we need, Noble can come on for the last half an hour to help calm nerves. We need a powerhouse in that midfield. And if there's no other business that we do, it's got to be that. We need a change, and we need a drastic change. If we have to sell a number 10, and we've got loads of them, in order to fund a different type of midfielder, then that's what we should do.
When Pellegrini was first touted and when he first came into post, I'm not sure if you remember the conversation we were having. We're basically saying, right, which players should he go for? Is he going to bring some hidden gems from Europe, from Spain or whatever? And I think some of us are saying, oh, yeah, it's going to be from the South America, or it's going to be from this league, that league. And I think I said at the time, I said, no, actually, the players you should be bringing in are from Northern Europe or from Scandinavia or somewhere like that. Some hardy players that can come in to our league. I just don't think that these so-called hidden gems have they materialized. Let's say Ayeti is a hidden gem. Let's just say he is. I don't think he is, but let's just say he is, right? He's not right for the league. So far, Haller isn't the right for the league either. So what the players that we're bringing in between Huzilos and Pellegrini are just not right for the league and not right for the team. So now in January, who do we go after?
If you remember when we were after Gomez throughout the summer, and we were all umming and ahhing, going, "But would he be the right sort of player?" Then, as you said, we were talking about, but there's this rumor about Allaire, playing in the German league, and we're all going, "Yeah, you know what? He'd suit the Premier League far more than someone like Gomez, quite likely." I think we've got the right player, but we haven't got him in the right position, and. I know a lot of people have suggested that Allaire is lazy and he's not creating his own chances, and look what Arnautovic used to do, and look how Antonio plays. Allaire plays a different game, and now I get what I get what Anton used to say about Hernandez. You know, we're not playing to his strengths, and now I understand that because you see Allaire coming, who has traditionally played either alongside another front man or just behind two front men. You know, he played a 4-3-3 formation or a 4-4-2 or whatever it might have been. And he's not, and now he's expected to be a number 9, and that's not who he is. He's a striker, but he's not a number 9. If that makes sense, you know.
Right, but let me just revert you back to my previous point, though, Stal. That's exactly my point. My point is Haller is not right for the Premier League, possibly, but he's not right for West Ham the way we play, because it's a bad signing. It's a bad signing. We signed a player who's not going to fit into any system that we're playing.
Yeah, no, I think he's right for the Premier League, but we're not playing him in the position that
not the West Ham Premier League, but not the way that we're playing it.
Well, not the West Ham team. No, we're not
that's
playing
what I mean.
in the right way.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
But if he played in any other team in the Premier League, I bet he'd be banging in goals for fun.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That's because Pellegrini doesn't. That falls on Pellegrini.
Exactly right. You know, it's a full circle again. It always comes back round to, you know, Pellegrini, you know, the underinvestment year in, year out from the board. You know, they have shown support for the manager, but it hasn't been consistent. You know, and that's where we're at, really.
I said there's always going to be that underlying issue with the board, but under current circumstances, with inconsistency in tactics, inconsistency in team selections, not playing players to their strengths, and not been doing it since we've signed. I mean, when we signed Chicharito, right, people will always think I'll bag on about it. Every single West Ham fan was over the moon with that. Yeah. Every single West Ham fan. The West Ham marketing team were over the moon with it. And quite quickly we realised, nah, it's not going to happen because we're not going to play to his strengths.
Yeah.
We signed Hilaire. Everyone was delighted about it. But Hilaire wasn't our first choice. He was like our 4th choice striker. And we don't play to his strengths. We don't play to any of these players' strengths. And until the management changes and we get a manager that maybe has a little bit more balls, we're not going to really see massive changes at the club.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know. We kind of look. Last summer and the summer before, but last summer we definitely, as a fan base, but I was as excited as everybody else about the players that were coming in. You know, and I was, you know, we all did that little video at the start of the season before the very first game. You know what our expectations were, and I was saying, yeah, Fornals is going to be our hammer of the year, Haller is going to be our top scorer, and all that kind of stuff. All that optimism, all that hope has just gone. It's just completely gone. You know, and our players, none of them have lived up to any expectation. They haven't played well. As I say, I say this time and time again, it is like a virus through our team, through our squad. We start playing, we stop playing well, then all of a sudden it just gets worse and worse and worse. We can't defend to save our lives. We can't attack properly to save our lives. And our midfield is usually pretty hopeless when we come under any kind of pressure. I will say it until I'm blue in the face. Arsenal are the worst team I've seen in many a year. I cannot remember seeing a worse team than that. And we just let them come into the game.
Yeah, totally agreed. Worst Arsenal team I've ever seen.
Yeah, they were absolutely rubbish, and we just let them get away. Now, no matter how bad our team is in defence, right? If you cannot punish a crap team like Arsenal, then there's something wrong. Then there's something wrong with us where we can't put 4 or 5 past that defence because they were rubbish. They were on the rails. You know, we had them. You know, before that goal went in, they were just so nervous at the back, and you know we could have had it if we had 2 up front. We had more desire going forward instead of sideways and going backwards. Instead of Anderson pussyfooting around all the time, it was just crap, really. And that's where it is. You know, Alex Ferguson, why was he such a successful manager? In part because he was ruthless, but also in part because he had the attitude is, right, we're going to score more than you. That's it. We're going to score more than you. Didn't always work, but guess what? For the most part, it did bloody work. And that's it. And, you telling me somebody like Sir Alex Ferguson with his worst team against Arsenal wouldn't have said to his players, attack. What do Man United fans say? I've been at Old Trafford so many times over the years, and they're chanting, attack, attack, attack. Because you're going to create cracks. The more you attack, the more you put a team under pressure, especially a bad team, they will start cracking and they'll start shipping in goals. And guess what? We didn't do that. My rant is over. Thanks very much.
There's a rumor I read. There's a rumor I read tonight, and I don't know how true this is. I can't corroborate it. That apparently, if we go into the bottom three, Pellegrini will be sacked. That's not the rumor because we've all heard that. But the rumor is, if we're in the bottom three and Pellegrini is sacked, they don't have to pay. The board don't have to pay him compensation.
Really? Wow. Okay, that's interesting.
I can't corroborate that. It's just something that was put up on one of the groups I run, and that would be an interesting scenario if that's true. And if that is true, is that why the board are waiting and waiting and waiting to see what happens?
And that came on to the point we were talking about earlier, still about how the boards take things so close to the bone and run that risk. Now, by doing that, if they are
it would be a massive risk.
And if it is that risk, and if that is what happens, and let's just say we do fall into the Championship, I said earlier on before you came in, this relegation would be the worst relegation we've suffered in a long time. Because if we think, I said earlier on, if Burnley was bad, then expect.
Well, the stakes are so much higher now. The finances are so much higher. And then the ability to be able to, you could easily come back within a season, or you could easily disappear like Sunderland did, or Wolves did years ago, or any other team that's, gone down and never come back up. That's the way it is. The Championship is such a hard league, such a competitive league, and you need fighters in there.
We won't come back. We won't come back straight away. If we go
I
down,
don't think we would.
Won't be lucky.
I don't think we would. No.
Still, I actually think we would probably go down again, to be honest, with the current state of our club. I think we would go into free fall. I definitely think we'd go into free fall, and that would be the only. I don't wish for us to get relegated, but if we were to get relegated, I don't think we would recover even to get back up. I actually think we'd struggle to come.
Yeah, but there are fans out there who say actually it'd be a good thing to get relegated. Yeah, it wouldn't be a bad thing to get relegated.
It's happened to us too many times, and nothing's changed. It was only how long ago did we last get relegated? Like 8 years ago, I can't remember. Whatever, and if it's a good thing, it would be a good thing because you come back into the Premier League and things change, but nothing changed. Absolutely nothing changed. So. And I think that's the problem. And a lot of fans that say it'd be a good thing. I think, unfortunately, the Championship is getting harder and harder and harder and harder. To break, and we could end up being a team that would be, mid-Championship table, for years and years and years, and we'll end up going nowhere. So I'd be very concerned for us to go down again, because I think we would no way would we come back up straight away. We were lucky last time. We were lucky. And I don't think our luck will eventually run out. And if the board, I'm not saying that what I've just said is true, but if it is true, then the board are treading a very tight rope, a fine line, because I don't actually. Personally, I don't actually think we'll go down this season. I think it's going to be. I think we're going to get over this blip, whether it's with Pellegrini or not, I don't know. But I think we will get over this blip, but we'll just have another average season. We'll end up finishing, I don't know, 13th, 14th, something like that. It'll be, and I just don't know. My gut tells me we're going to win on Saturday. I don't know why, considering how we played, and that will keep Pellegrini in the job because we won't be in the bottom three. And then we would have missed our opportunity to replace him because we'll go into, we miss a week by not having the Liverpool game, and then things will start getting a bit too late to start replacing him because you'll have the January transfer window upon you. So I think he might just survive us not going in the bottom three, and we might just scrape our way out of it. But we'll just have one of these awful, rubbishy seasons. And Pellegrini will go at the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm not convinced so much that we'll survive the season. If they don't get rid of him, because I just think it's too close to call for me right now whether we're going to go down or not. On the form that we're showing and the attitude which we're showing and the tactics, I'd say we're definitely going down. Because even with the teams below us, I see they've got better attacking intent than, they might not, maybe just as bad, if not a little worse than us at times, but they've got better attacking intent than we have. And especially Southampton, they've had a couple of shocking results, but they've also had some really good results as well. Same with Norwich. They've had a lot of shocking results, but they've pulled some decent performances out as well. Watford, you just don't know what you're going to get from Watford. I think they're a pretty poor side this season, but they weren't a poor side last season, were they? So it's,
no, exactly.
And you've still got most of those players there as well. So I'm concerned about those teams beneath us, and I'm not so sure that we will survive purely based upon our lack of ability to get in the box and score goals. Not even score goals, but take a shot. That's my biggest fear.
But I think that's why we're going to have to do some business in the transfer window.
Yeah.
Apparently, Yeti's on his way out. Apparently, Sanchez is going to be sold if we can sell him. Apparently, Roberto, if we can find a buyer for him as well. Yeah. It's not going to be a lot of money for those players, but that's could be 10 million in the bag.
Yeah.
But I've got a feeling we're going to have to sell someone who's worth some money.
I wouldn't be surprised if Anderson goes, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised.
I was just about to mention him because there was this other story that we apparently were interested in Frank Kessie of AC Milan, who is an absolute powerhouse in midfield. And Milan, he's not getting a lot of game time, and Milan are looking to cash in, and his price has gone down to around about 25 mil, which apparently for Kessie is a decent value. And there was a very, very, very faint rumour of a swap deal including money. So if we moved Anderson on back to Italy, and let's say he's worth whatever 38 mil, and we bought Kessie in for 25, so maybe we might get Kessie in a bit of money. I don't know. I don't know. But there's a reason. But we need to do something. We need a striker, and we need someone better in midfield.
Well, I think we need a miracle. I think as well. Anyway, look, thanks. I don't know. Should we leave it there? Let's just leave it there. I think we've put the world's the rights, And anyway, look, we've got a big game on Saturday, and then we've got a couple of weeks. Then we've got the post-Christmas games as well. Yeah, it's vital, isn't it? It was vital that we stay out of the bottom three.
We need a result. We need a result on Saturday because
we need a big result and a big performance. And I think
if we don't, because we're also going to be playing catch up because we're going to be a game behind everyone else.
Yeah, we're going to feel the pressure from now. Every game is going to be a massive pressure game for.
Mind you, the game in hand is against Liverpool, so it might be a blessing.
They'll be tired after their World Club championships or whatever it's called.
We won't get them to play them till around April or something. Or
they'll still be tired. Don't worry. They'll have Champions League to worry about then. They'll still be tired. Right, anyway, cheers, Sal. Thanks for that. Mate. And thanks to Anton, who sort of went off that way or that way. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. I say, watch out, all more videos coming live from Irons United, and also the pre-recorded ones, the previews, post-match reviews as well, and especially all the home games. We'll be doing more live chats and reviews from the West Ham Supporters Club just outside the ground, and also from within the stadium as well. So I've been Alf, he's been Stel, you've been a great audience. Catch you again. Ta-da.